Hi, Jared. Good morning.
Hello, Anahita. How are you?
Oh, good evening, is it?
Good evening tonight. Yes. Good morning to you.
It's morning here.
Yes.
It's close to 9 a.m.
Oh, thanks for doing so early for me, allowing me to fit in so early in your day.
That's all right. We usually do start at 9, so that's all good.
Oh, good.
So, my colleague will just have a tech check with you, and just to confirm, I can introduce you, and then we can play the video that you've shared with us.
Perfect.
Cool.
That's great.
Hello, Jared.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, so we'll just do a quick tech check.
Okay.
So, do you have any PPTs or anything to play or screen share?
I can screen share my presentation now.
Yeah, you can. I will enable the settings. You can screen share. Yeah, I have enabled. You can check once if it's working.
There you go. Seems to work.
Yeah, perfect.
Shows full screen.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. It
Great.
seems all right.
Good. Okay.
This is the only PPT you have, all right? And we have one video which will play after Naina ma'am gives the introduction. That's the only thing, right?
Yes.
You may stop screen sharing for now.
Yeah. Just now I'm trying to get back to my screen. Sorry. There it is. Changed screens on me. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. So we'll go live in about 5 minutes.
Okay. Sounds good. Anahita, would you like me to say anything before the video starts, or will you go right to the video before I start talking?
Yeah, so first Naita ma'am will give the introduction of yours, and after that we'll play a video of introduction of his bro. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll wait for that. Thanks.
Jared, just a quick question.
Yes.
So if we have time, we'll be able to take a few questions at the end of the session. So that's all right?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Okay,
Great.
sweet.
I'm in no rush. I have nowhere to be this evening.
No, we have a really tight schedule because we have back-to-back sessions all day. So We'll see how we're going with time.
Okay, sounds good. But we have the full 45 minutes, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. I should only take a half hour for my presentation, so should be great.
Jared, we go live in 10 seconds.
Okay, great.
We're live. Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the Ahmedabad Design Week 2.0 on the theme of toying with design. Yesterday, we saw a diverse array of speakers and topics. Dr. PVM Rao, who spoke about emerging technology for toys, Adrian Light, who related the universe to a toy that we live in, jewelry designer Anita Savika, Aishwarya Tipnis, who showed her award-winning work on conservation and restoration, Professor Sangeeta Shroff, who spoke about indigenous toy crafts in contemporary India, Pritesh Bhatia with his informative session on toys for children with special needs. The evening industry town hall was an august gathering of policymakers, designers, academicians, and thought leaders from India and across the globe who discussed a possible roadmap for the growth and development of the toy sector in India and its influence on society. Today, we have yet another exciting day, packed with speaker sessions, workshops, and panel discussions to take the toy talk further. So stay tuned. We start the day with Mr. Jared Wade, the Vice President of Design Innovation at Hasbro. Jared leads a team of world-class innovators and researchers charged with igniting internal and external product innovation. This includes a team of design and development specialists equipped to supercharge white space opportunities and new technologies. He started his career as a product designer and over the years has worked on iconic brands such as Transformers, My Little Pony, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, Marvel, etc. Jared graduated from the University of Cincinnati's College of Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning. Hasbro is a global play and entertainment company committed to creating the world's best play and entertainment experiences. From toys, games, and consumer products to television, movies, digital gaming, live action, music, and virtual reality experiences. Hasbro connects to global audiences by bringing to life great innovations, stories, and brands across the platform. Today, Jared will talk about how to create and design the best play experiences for all children and families. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you. It's very good to be here.
Tell me a story.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry if you can't see my screen just now. There we go. Technical difficulty. Sorry about that. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry. Good morning. My name is Jared Wade. Thank you, Anahita. As you mentioned, I am Senior Vice President of Hasbro's Design Innovation Team. And I'm so honored to be here as a part of the Ahmedabad Design Week. It's truly an honor. And I want to thank the host of the event for inviting me to participate on behalf of Hasbro. And also to thank the Hasbro India team for making the connection and all of their support. And I think that video that Anahita just played really captures the spirit of what Hasbro is trying to deliver to our consumers, probably better than I could describe in words. I love that video. It's done such a great job of capturing the spirit of Hasbro. I've been at Hasbro myself for 22 years now. I started my career as a product designer, and Hasbro has been such a great place to spend my career amongst friends and coworkers who really have become more like my family at this point. My current role is leading a central design innovation team that includes creators, developers, researchers who work on all of our toy and game categories and locations across the world. So I'm based in our corporate headquarters in Pawtucket, Rhode Island in the United States, but we have more than 6,500 employees around the world in more than 35 countries and design and development manufacturing hubs around the world, one of which is based in Pune with sales operations in Mumbai. And I had the opportunity to come to India several times myself in 2014 and 2015 as we first started to set up global operations there, and was so privileged to work with so many manufacturers and other partners in Pune and Mumbai and Bangalore and Chennai and other parts of the country. And unfortunately, I haven't been back for a little while now, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity to come back again soon because I so cherish that experience, as well as all the connections I made in the country. In fact, Hasbro is actually one of the first large global toy company to set up a sourcing operation there in 2015. And we also have a marketing and sales entity that I mentioned that started operations in 2017. So since that time, both arms of Hasbro India have really continued to grow at a great pace. And you can see many of the Hasbro India team members here on the right in the picture. I don't know how many are watching today, but hello if you are. In India, Hasbro actually employs over 600 people indirectly through our sales and manufacturing partners. And we have more than 60 direct employees in the sourcing and commercial business teams. So shown here on this slide, you can see just a small handful of the many toys Hasbro is currently manufacturing in India. Hasbro has been instrumental in developing a network of toy manufacturing and raw material suppliers. And through that has become a bit of an industry leader in the export of toys made in India. And we continue to focus on introducing more advanced products, more toys to the India market, providing those diverse play experiences and new levels of technology and materials innovations, and as always with the utmost safety standards. But as we're looking and focusing on design innovation, we're not only looking to create great play, but also marrying that play with the great toys with learning and childhood development is so important. And through products and many of the brands you see through Play-Doh and preschool and many of the games for our youngest consumers. So much growth and more to come for India and made in India. For those of you who may not be familiar with Hasbro today, we truly have, and you can see in the video, we've become not just a toy company, but a global play and entertainment company. And this has really been one of the secrets to Hasbro's success in recent years, is that evolution. But just to step back and take a look at the history of Hasbro a little bit. Hasbro was founded all the way back in 1923 here in Rhode Island by three brothers from the Hassenfeld family. And that's where the name comes from, the Hassenfeld brothers. The company was originally manufacturing pencil boxes and school supplies. And over the years, we've had so many milestones within the toy industry, including all the way back in 1952 when Mr. Potato Head was first created and became the very first toy to ever be advertised on television. I happen to have my Mr. Potato Head here at my desk. I'm broadcasting from my basement, which also serves as my children's playroom, which as a toy designer turns out to be a good thing. But I'm surrounded by toys here. But anyway, Play-Doh soon followed Mr. Potato Head in 1956. And so that makes this actually our 65th anniversary for that brand. And then in 1964, we saw the launch of the first modern action figure with G.I. Joe. So many other milestones in toys that Hasbro has brought to market. But one of the biggest ones that you can see here on this slide, and one that's most dear to my heart, is the launch of the first Transformers live action movie back in 2007. I was lucky enough to be a part of that team at the time that launched the first movie and product line to go along with that movie. And it was such an exciting time for our company and for me personally as a toy designer to see that evolution of Hasbro. And it was that point that really established Hasbro as an entertainment powerhouse and unlocked so much potential for all of our brands worldwide. And that brings us all the way to 2019, just a couple of years ago, when Hasbro acquired Entertainment One. E1, as it's more commonly known, is really a global entertainment powerhouse. It's a studio headquartered in Toronto, Canada, but their expertise spans across all aspects of entertainment, from film to television, music production, programming, family programming, digital content. And they also have really strong relationships with the top content platforms and broadcasters all around the world. So it's just such an amazing partnership as we've come together as one Hasbro team. We've also had the addition of great brands to our preschool portfolio, like PJ Masks and Peppa Pig and Ricky Zoom, just to name a couple. But these synergies are making Hasbro that truly powerful play and entertainment company, and so much more to come through this partnership. But those synergies are a great illustration of how we're able to leverage what we call our brand blueprint. And this is something we've used as our guiding light for the last more than a decade. It's really a strategic framework for Hasbro for bringing our brands to life to consumers with our brands and the content at its core. And from there, it's all about immersing not only the consumers in toy and games, which we offer, but also across entertainment and gaming consumer products, things like esports and publishing and music and all of the other aspects of experience that the consumer can engage with our brands. And it's about allowing the consumers all around the world to access their favorite brands anywhere they want, any way they want. So this has been a key to how we work at Hasbro. And as we say, it's our mission is really about creating the best play and entertainment experiences. So I spent a lot of time on Hasbro, not just to tell you about Hasbro's history, but also because it's so core to our philosophy and my own philosophy that toys and games are so much more than the physical thing that you buy. Everything from the design and the marketing and the quality and the delivery of the toy, everything becomes a part of that experience for the consumer and for the children and for the fans. And it takes so many people from different backgrounds in the company and different functions that all have to really prioritize that mission and care about that mission to fulfill our experience, or to fulfill our mission as a company, to deliver those great play experiences. So it's all of those people who make it happen. Those are who Hasbro really is. So that brings me to my role in Hasbro and in designing toys and my journey over the last 22 years or so. So looking back in time, as Optimus turns into the G1 1984 Optimus back when I was playing with them as a kid. As a kid, as a young adult, I never set out to be a toy designer. I never knew that toy design was a real job, honestly, until I was well in my university career. As mentioned, I went to the University of Cincinnati, their College of Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning. And I was very fortunate that this was a university just 30 minutes down the road from a small town in Ohio in the United States where I grew up. But luckily it was ranked always usually one of the top 5 or 10 design schools in the world. And I was very fortunate to attend it. When I joined, I intended to kind of extend my love of drawing and art into maybe graphic design or fine arts. But what I realized, I ended up being intrigued by their brand new digital design program. And that's where we learned how to create 3D animations, websites, interactive multimedia experiences. And it was that point I was really drawn towards the idea of creating user experiences and that emotional connection that you can create through interactive design. And the one thing I was missing through that, I think, as a designer that I cherished, was the hands-on, tangible experience, the physical thing that I could hold and touch and manipulate and have at the end of that design experience. So after graduating, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do really. And luckily, a friend of mine recommended I looked into an internship at opening at Hasbro, who also happened to be just down the road from University of Cincinnati. And typically those jobs went to industrial design students who focused on product design. But my drawing skills and computer knowledge were just good enough to get me in the door, and kind of hung on from there. And that's where I really fell in love with toy design. And part of it was the fact that I got to draw every day, great characters and really fun things. But it was the thing that really attracted me was the fact that you had to figure out how to make these creations, how they fit together, what materials to make them out of, how to make them do a feature, how to make them actually cost the right amount so it can reach a consumer, and while maintaining a great story. And it was that challenge that I really drove me and excited me about the toy industry. And I love the idea that one day you're drawing a Jedi Knight in Star Wars, and the next you're drawing a transforming robot in a vehicle. The next day you're drawing a cute kitten for a plush toy or a toy helmet, and figuring out how to make it fit a kid's head and have the right features. I don't think there's any other industry in the world where there's so much variety in what you do on a daily basis, and that the nature of the challenges change so often and keep it really interesting and exciting. So since then, I've been fortunate enough to work on almost all of our brands at Hasbro in one way or another, either as a designer, design manager, or as part of our sourcing and manufacturing teams in Asia. Throughout my earlier career, I had the opportunity to travel to manufacturers and vendors periodically as part of my job. But in 2012, I had the great opportunity to move to Hong Kong as part of our Asia Pacific team for 3 years. And this allowed me this great privilege of not only working with an amazing team, some of which you see here, some of the Hong Kong design team, but also to learn so much more about sourcing and manufacturing and quality control and application of new materials and technology. And as a designer, it was such a learning experience and so valuable in understanding the totality of the toy industry. So I was able to bring a lot of that knowledge back with me when I returned to the United States a few years later, to lead the design and development for many of our entertainment brands portfolio. So that was really kind of bringing me to today, where my role today is really being tasked with leading a design innovation team internal to Hasbro. And our mission is supercharging innovation by discovering, empowering, executing the world's best play experiences. And that really goes across all of our categories and driving that innovation. And there's 3 main functions of this group, just to share. The first is our inventor relations team. And that team is charged with finding the best external innovations and innovation partners from around the globe. And toy inventors and toy and game inventors they're a critical part of the toy industry as a whole, and they bring some of the most breakthrough product innovations to market every year. So they're a really important part of our extended team, and they are augmenting our internal innovations every day. So that's one aspect of my team on the external side. Another team is focused on the internal innovation, bringing in and applying new technologies, things like advanced animatronics or robotics that through technology and complex mechanical engineering and design are able to bring characters to life like never before. There's things like app connectivity, where using a mobile device, you're actually able to interact and augment the play with a physical toy. Augmented reality and virtual reality, which are really just kind of in the early stages of becoming a mass market experience, but there's so much possibility that we're eager to explore, as well as app experiences that are based on the physical play and build that out with complementary mobile gaming. So these are just some of the kinds of things that my team is working on now. And these are some of the most challenging, but also some of the most rewarding projects that we do as part of Hasbro's toy development. And then last but not least, within my group is the Fun Lab team. And Hasbro's Fun Lab team allows us to do direct observational research with kids, so they can see, the designers and the developers can see firsthand how to design the best toy with the end user in mind. So there's no replacement for being able to sit with a group of children and see them play with your designs and your toys and understand how they use them, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, and how you can make it the best experience for them. So it's a critical part of our group and for the whole company. And obviously it's been a little bit more difficult to have that kind of in-person testing through the pandemic, but our team has been super agile and creative about finding new ways to do virtual testing and adding new research tools to our tool belt. So it really is a great asset to be able to understand the consumer as our design process. So that's my team and kind of where we sit within Hasbro. But now I'd like to share just some thoughts on the things that I've always held to be true about what makes a great toy and game experience, a great play experience. And there's probably hundreds of different philosophies on what makes a great play experience, but there are three key things that I've always thought are always top of my mind as a toy designer. And that is, first, creating new and surprising experiences always. Second, using that storytelling and emotional connection to really make that emotional connection with the consumer. And third, delivering, of course, the highest level of product quality, but also design integrity in the products we develop. So I'll take you through a few examples, Hasbro products that we do, starting with new and surprising experiences. So as I mentioned, Play-Doh has been around for 65 years now. And as a brand that's always stood for allowing kids to express their creativity and their imaginations through playing with Play-Doh, we've always introduced new innovations in ways to play with the dough through new tools or new play sets, new colors for the Play-Doh, new ways to consume it as far as the cans. But even after all of this history with Play-Doh, we're still pushing the boundaries of what we can do. And we've expanded our Play-Doh line to include things like new types of compounds and textures. And this opens up the door for all new kinds of play experiences for Play-Doh in brand new ways, allowing kids to express their creativity and imaginations in different ways than they have before. And I love this slide because you can almost feel the feel of the different textures. And it's just amazing, when you think of toy design, a lot of times we think of traditional dolls and action figures and games and those kind of physical products. But there's so much more areas to innovate when it comes to compounds and the team members who are involved with that, not just designers and engineers, chemical engineers. The different roles it takes to develop unique product like this is really a unique and fun challenge. Another example is Monopoly, which in its classic form is almost actually 100 years old. And despite being 100 years old almost, last year was Monopoly's biggest year ever. And that's all due to continuing to innovate and add surprise and newness year after year. And for years in India and around the world, Monopoly has always brought friends and families together through play. And if you're like me, I know you probably remember trying to own all the properties on the board or arguing to be the banker or trying not to be a sore loser, or hopefully not arguing about who's cheating in the game. But that's what we strive for. It's those interactions. It's the giving families the gaming experiences that drive those authentic human connections and build those great memories. And importantly, for toy design and game design, it's for a game as established as Monopoly has been over the history, it's about finding ways to do it in new and surprising ways. So I'm particularly excited today because recently we just launched the new Monopoly deal in Hindi. And this is a kind of a quick playing card version of the classic game, but it comes with all the cards and instructions in Hindi, and it features all the Indian cities on the cards. And this is actually the first time that a Hasbro game can be played in Hindi from start to finish. And it's all made right there in India as well. And similarly, there's also an India edition of the classic Monopoly board game in which you can buy and trade properties of Indian cities. So these are examples of how we offer new experiences in the classic game. But as toy and game designers, we like to take things even further by changing the rules built on the common reference point of the Monopoly play pattern. So here's an example in our Monopoly Super Electronic Banking Edition. The team is built on the classic play, but instead of paper money that you'd have in a traditional game, they've added an all-in-one electronic banking machine that tracks all the transactions for you. So you no longer need the banker dealing with the money. And it's also providing a new way to play in a very relevant way for consumers today that they can relate to, still with that great core play pattern that they recognize. And so as an example, instead of purchasing railroads, you can actually take a flight over to a new property before you buy it or pay the rent. So it's these kind of new experiences that we look to bring every day to new iterations of our games and toys. So going back to the second point of great play experience, it's really about that emotional connection and how you get that through storytelling. And of course, there's a lot of ways to tell a story through product design. One of the most obvious is through the literal storytelling. And at Hasbro, we're so lucky to have so many great storytelling partners that bring our characters to life through amazing content. And you see the example here of our Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, this episode or this series being Kingdom. And it's just an amazing epic storytelling that we're able to use as inspiration to turn into great toys for kids to take home and play with and relive that story that they see on their mobile device, on their screen. And we're able to recreate that through products like the Optimus Primal here you see on the right. There's an action figure that converts from obviously the heroic Optimus Primal into this mighty gorilla. And the storytelling doesn't just come from the content. I think that's the fun part of it. As toy designers, it's our responsibility to communicate story through the actual design of the toy. So the fact that, first of all, that this heroic robot can turn into a mighty gorilla, that feature in and of itself is a form of storytelling that the kids can play out over and over again when they interact with the toy. It's part of the fantasy that they're engaging in, but also the character design itself. The details of the sculpt and the design and the decoration all goes into telling what this robot is made of. Is it an alien technology? How does it move? How does it work? Is it powered by a magical power that allows it to transform? And it conveys personality through the design of the character. All of those things are telling a story that spark a child's imagination and allow them to take the story further. So looking at a more complex toy even, it brings out even more opportunities for storytelling. So this is a Torch, my Blazing Dragon, who is an animatronic character in our For Real Friends line. And in the beginning, once a design team has an idea for a toy, they really get to work refining the character and figuring out what does this character look like? What is its personality? How does it act? And these are some examples of just early sketches that the team had done to kind of hone in on that perfect look for the toy that they're after. And then they continue to refine the play pattern, or in other words, how the kid will play with the toy. And they further decide, who is this character Torch? First of all, they have to come up with a name, and Torch was settled on. So how does a character like Torch act, and what does he do when you play with them? And in this case, settled on these features of the fact that he is full of personality. So he knows your mood through magic, and he responds to you in all the different ways you interact with him. He responds in different ways. the fact that he needs you because he's just a baby dragon. So we want to tell that story, and he needs you to cuddle him and nurture him and care for him and reacts appropriately. And then the fact that he has this magical fire breathing feature allows him to be able to cook his food, and he enjoys that. And he enjoys cooking his food before he eats it, before we feed it to him. So all of those things in the future start to tell the broader story of how a kid will connect with this toy. And here's just some sketches, taking it from that idea to getting into what this character really looks like, and designers refining the design, every detail of it, and working with the sculpting team who are amazingly talented at capturing that just amazing aesthetic to refine the story. And then utilizing those 3D files, the great thing about the CAD assets that we're able to use these days is we can actually start to test the motions, the emotion that you're able to capture with a toy. And you can see some of the examples there in the top. And at the same time, we get into the fun part of designing and engineering the mechanical features that really bring the character and the personality to life. So in this case, you can see on the left some early models that prove out some of the functionality. And then on the right, you'll see a more advanced model that's a little closer to the final that really starts to, we use this for coding and programming and animating to get the maximum emotion out of this character in the right way. And you can see some of the really cool fire breathing effect we're able to achieve with the water misting technology combined with the lights to give that fire effect. So with toys as complicated as this, there are multiple rounds of design and engineering to make it manufacturable. And there's always a close collaboration with the manufacturers and the vendors to achieve the final solution. And this is really a critical part that can't be overlooked, because it's all about preserving the design intent from the very beginning, how you want to create that emotional connection. If it doesn't come across in the final manufactured product, then it kind of falls apart, and it loses the magic. And that's where that relationship with the manufacturers is so critical and so important and so valuable. And what we've been able to maintain with Hasbro is having such great partners that can realize that vision through manufacturing and get it to the consumer. And here you can see the finished product, where the storytelling continues through the marketing and the packaging photography, and it's all in support of this character and what is that emotional connection that we want to communicate to the consumer. So whether it's a simple action figure or a complex high-tech action figure, the storytelling to me is central. One of the most important parts of that toy design, no matter how simple the toy is always about storytelling. And then last but not least is the product quality. So none of the other things matter if the toy in the end, you have a toy that falls apart or does not work properly. There's just so much that goes into providing a toy of the best quality, and so many people whose job it is to maintain that quality from the beginning of the process all the way through the development to the kids' hands. And this is always priority number one for us. But as a toy designer, the quality also goes beyond the toy being made well. It demands that the toy is also designed well with care and with thought. And some examples of this are the various lines of 6-inch action figures that we make for our fans of all ages. Everything from Star Wars Black Series to Marvel Legends. And in this example, our G.I. Joe Classified series that was launched last year. And this is just the latest expression in a long history of G.I. Joes that goes all the way back to that first action figure I mentioned in 1964. But just to look at this figure, and you see some close-ups here, the amazing detail that goes into the design of these figures. This character is Zartan. If any of you know him, he's a villain, a classic villain from the G.I. Joe lore, who has the ability to shapeshift. So not only does he come with his kind of signature removable hood that he had back in the 80s entertainment, but he also has his secondary face mask that he can actually wear on the toy and play up that shape-shifting ability. But it's all the details, the feel of the armor, the textures on the cloth, the decoration, the paint that is applied on his tattoos on his face, the care and the techniques in which that's applied all go to the authenticity and the quality of the experience for the fan. And we have some of the best in the industry doing this every day, and they're so impassioned and take so much pride in what they do, and are continuing to find ways to innovate and bring new and greater quality to the fans every day. So just one example of many of how quality is so important to us and to our fans. So these are just a few product examples the Hasbro teams have designed that to me are representative of some of these aspects of a great play experience. But in closing, there's one other aspect of being a designer at Hasbro that I wanted to share. And that's the fact that while our mission is to create the world's best play and entertainment experiences, we also have a greater purpose at Hasbro. And one that inspires us every day, and that is making the world a better place for children and their families. And we like to say that we play with purpose and we create play with purpose. And it's about the team at Hasbro who care so much for kids and their families. And through our philanthropic programs, for children, it's all about supporting them and standing up for children, working together to create a world where every kid can feel safe, can feel joy, can express themselves with creativity and imagination. In India, specifically, we've been honored to partner with the Cry and Smile Foundations. And in partnership with Save the Children, Hasbro donated 1,000 cans of Play-Doh to children across India to enjoy and have that creative experience. And you can see just some of our India team here as part of our Global Day of Joy, a day when all of our employees around the world, all 6,500 of them, take a day to give back to our communities. It's that kind of activity that makes me proud to be a part of Hasbro, a company that sees its business as a force for good to create a better place for children, a better place to work, a better place for the world. Toy design has been, for me, such a fulfilling career, and one I definitely recommend for any designer who has the passion to pursue it. And at the end of the day, for me, what matters most throughout all of it is doing the work you love with the people you enjoy on brands and the things you believe in, and all for a company that's driven by that greater purpose and inspires you. So that's why I've been so grateful for my 22 years at Hasbro, and to be part of a broader toy industry that reflects so many of these values more broadly. So with that, I hope you found some of this interesting. I think we're going to open it up to some questions, but really appreciate your time. With that, I'll turn it back to Anahita. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jared. That was very engaging, and it took me back to my childhood of playing with Monopoly. I still remember all my summer breaks playing Monopoly through the day with my family. And I still play with slime all the time. So that's been really fun watching your session and see how these things actually come together, which means so much to us in our life today.
Yeah.
So I have a few questions coming up from the audience. Yeah.
Great.
So, well, somebody is very keen to know if Hasbro provides internships.
Yes, they do. As I mentioned, I took an internship role actually after I graduated, but Hasbro is very active with universities around the world in having interns and co-ops, we call them too, come into Hasbro and learn. And actually, a good number of our employees, including myself, came in through that internship initiative. So we do it very often. We welcome all applicants, and we have more and more opportunities for that around the world.
And what would the process be to apply for an internship?
Many times it's through the universities that we work with. So we build a network of universities. But they believe there are also ways that we can contact Hasbro with I know we've had some students who have reached out independently that we've been able to interview in the past as well. So I'd have to find a website, the actual link to do that. But I think if you visit the Hasbro website and contact us, you'll be able to point in the right direction.
Thank you. That's helpful. The next question is, what is the impact of smart materials on toys?
I think it's a really exciting area that we've been looking at quite a bit. We actually had some partnerships with local universities where we were really diving into the applications of smart materials. And it really is about the experiences are amazing that you can create. It's all about making it safe and manufacturable and cost effective for those toy and play experiences. So I expect we'll see a lot more of that in the coming years.
Nice. What would you suggest to the young designers, which is, design students now or budding designers who want to pursue a career in the toy industry?
I think it's a unique industry that so much of it comes down to the passion for problem solving and for creating that storytelling. And when I first started, I thought you had to be an industrial designer, or you had to go to a specific school with a toy program to get a job as a toy designer. But over the years, I've seen so many great talented people come in through different experiences, different backgrounds. So there's no one size fits all to be a toy designer. I think the biggest thing is to practice the craft, to practice creating characters and experiences, building things with your hands, solving those issues, and really engaging yourself with kids and fans and how they like to play. That to me is the biggest thing. If you can bring that creativity to the job and the passion to the job, that's going to be the biggest asset. But I will say, there are great programs around the world as well who do have specific toy programs. The University of Cincinnati has great training in their industrial design, FIT in New York, Otis College of Art and Design, many, many others, too many to name, but there are some great programs there as well.
Cool. What would you say about the effect of the pandemic on the toy industry?
It's been amazing. The pandemic's been difficult for all of us, but it's been, I think, interesting to see how play has remained so important to people's lives. And we talk about Monopoly and those great play experiences. I think in many ways, people have yearned for that as they've been together with their families and looking for things to keep busy when they can't go out in public, or just looking for ways to reconnect in that face-to-face way. So it's been really, I think, valuable for people to rediscover games and play and take that time with their families and friends to do that. I think the toy industry, like every industry, has had to make adjustments in how we develop and how we manufacture, how we get toys to consumers. But in the end, I think it proves just how universally strong toys are, even in the toughest of times.
Very true. I think the pandemic has indeed brought everybody closer, as we were all, kind of by force. We had to spend a lot of time together. And
that's right. That's why I'm in my children's playroom.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jared, and for sharing some great examples of design and innovation process at Hasbro, and speaking about the creativity and technology that goes behind making these toys and building these experiences. You covered a range of toys, which I'm sure has brought back memories for most of us. A very engaging session to start the day and set the tone for the day. We would love to have you on campus whenever you visit India next. I'm sure there would be students excited to see what more they can discuss and learn from you. So thank you for taking the time to be a part of the Ahmedabad Design Week 2.0.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be here.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Bye.